Hello and welcome to Game Joy. It's a podcast about joy, mainly. And to discuss that, we talk about games and among other things. I'm Jonny, and this is my co-host.
Jamie.
Jamie, it's been over a month since last time we released an episode.
Really? It's been that long?
It was March 25th, if my
goodness.
math, and by math I mean looking at calendars, is correct.
To all of our listeners,
All three.
I'm so sorry.
Two of them being us.
And
well, not even you.
One being your dad?
Yeah, my dad. I know my now good friend Ryan, who's making the game Scallywags, listens, and he always gives us encouraging comments.
So we got some listeners.
At least two. And if one of us listens, then that's three. And we apologize to them.
For having to wait a month.
Yeah, for this great content. Jamie, tell us about why we had to wait a month for another episode of Game Joy.
Well, most of it was your fault.
Yeah, I would say if we're assigning blame, I take on about 95%.
But we're kidding. Joy and blame do not exist. Do not belong in the same house together.
Unless it gives you joy to blame people. But I would say keep it non-vocal, potentially.
Yeah,
just let it happen.
I would also
in your
maybe
head.
question the concept of joy at that point.
Oh,
but
really?
You never know. You never know. Anyways, we took a month off because, well, initially you were traveling for a little bit longer than I was. You went back home for a little bit, and then you went on a fun adventure to Europe to play some beach frisbee with some lovely people. And then partway through that, I sort of joined you on that journey. I was playing on a different team, but I joined you at the same tournament, same location on the Canary Islands after you had been in Italy for a tournament. And then we spent some time in Madrid, which was delightful. I really want to go back and see more of Spain. And then we just kind of needed a week to recover after that. Things were pretty busy. I think I brought up trying to record again last Wednesday, and then it wasn't brought up again. I think both of us just needed a little bit of a break. But this week we felt ready to jump back into it.
And as a reflection of our trip to Madrid, I actually don't know if I've told you this yet, but my article in Nintendo Life about retro game stores in Madrid is coming out on Saturday.
So that's so exciting.
If you want to hear a little bit more about our trip, head over there. You can just look up my name and Nintendo Life, Jonny Malk's Nintendo Life, and it'll come right up.
Yeah, because we went to several different retro game stores there. The first one we went to, I think we both... You thought it was the best one, right? I thought it was the best one. Yeah. We really liked that one.
Yeah, that's number one on the list.
Yeah.
Choyo Games, which is CHOLLO.
I feel like that's always been a fun thing that we like to do when we travel anywhere, is at least try to find and pop into one retro game store. And while they all end up being pretty similar, I feel like it's become a fun little thing for us to check out everywhere. And I think especially in Madrid had me reflecting on the worldliness of games.
Yeah, how they can be connective tissue across time and cultures and places.
Yeah, which is really special and really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And it's cool to get to know a place by like putting in what like the first thing I'll do on a night of a trip in a new city is like put in the different game stores I want to go to, and then by walking around or taking public transit to these different places, it gives you a way to get to know the city and then get to have these little hubs of familiarity that you might find some good stuff at. I personally found a couple of CDs that I've been wanting anyway at Choyo Games, and for really fair prices. And so it's cool to see stuff out in the wild, even in a different country that's not even really known for, when I think about Japan, I think about retro game stores and stuff, but they're everywhere. And just the passion for it is really cool. One of the things I also wanted to mention is like during my travels, my like aunt passed away suddenly, and it had me on this roller coaster of like fun European vacation straight to the celebration of her life in Houston, where I was thinking about potentially visiting another retro game store, but did not at the time. I was thinking about like the role games play in, what is, I think it's very common that in our day-to-day rhythms when something happens, like, you know, a death in the family or just a big life event, positive or negative or neutral, it always makes, I think, humans reflect on like how little things can feel that we like assign a lot of value to day to day. And I think like coming back from that trip, in like the fatigue and the reflection process, I was thinking a lot about like, it's not like, obviously there are things bigger than games. And I think that's the way it should be, because then games feel like a small place that we can return to when we're ready, to kind of like have things under control and have things feel familiar and fun for a while. And I think there's like positives and negatives to the idea of escapism. But I think one of the positives is that games will always be there for us when we're ready. And as I learned, you know, for a lot of even just this past week and a half being back in town, is like, you're not always ready. And I don't think that that's like a completely negative thing. So someone like me who sometimes assigns a lot of value to hobbies and passions, like having that fall off a little bit and not feel as into games, I think in the past may have like thrown me really off course. But instead it's been like a cool way to perceive getting back into them over just like the last couple days, and like finding community in it again and enjoying it again, and how special that is.
Yeah, that's really cool and such a special reflection, because I think that actually aligns pretty well with some of the things and concepts I've been reflecting on through the game that I've been playing recently. I've been playing a couple of games, but one of them has been Final Fantasy X. And a lot of the themes in that game revolve around grief and tragedy and loss, but also a big emphasis on play and sports and games. And there's a scene in the game where something really tragic happens and you talk to some NPCs, and one of them is talking about how they can't imagine anyone wanting to engage with play or sports or games. And then another NPC is talking about how games in this context feel so important because it's what helps keep everyone going and sort of, I don't know, necessarily distract them, even like not even, I guess it could be a distraction for some, but it just feels important to reassure people that the tragedy and grief isn't all that there is. And it's interesting how everyone interacts with grief and tragedy differently. And yeah, hearing your reflections on feeling like you weren't ready to jump back into games, but eventually finding that, and also thinking about people who might use games to help them parse through grief, and how, yeah, I like what you said about games, there being things bigger than games, so that games are sort of the safe haven for us to come back to. And in Final Fantasy X, the concepts of play and finding joy and the little things that we can come back to give us joy when there are things so much bigger and heavier out in the world happening.
Yeah. That actually parallels like my real life experience. I was reflecting on it today, in like a therapy session, and talking about like how the Europe trip, where I was like meeting all these new people who are wonderful personalities, and like falling back in love with Ultimate Frisbee, like a sport I've played for, 14 years at this point. And like Susan's funeral, and meeting all her, like the folks that loved her, were actually like very similar experiences, weirdly enough, as far as like emotionally exhausting, inspiring, and like it felt very nourishing to be present in those moments. And I think like, to me, what that really goes to show, and how it's connected to your comment about how like there's all these interactions between like where humans find joy and where humans find grief or sadness, is like, I think that the ability to remain like emotionally open and feel is like kind of what connects the experiences, and I think what makes experiences meaningful, even though it makes it, way harder when something comes to an end, or something, or someone passes away, or or what have you, or you get your heart broken or what have you, like remaining emotionally open and interested in kind of tracking the highs and lows, I think is the best way to live, even if it's not like the safest way. And I think like that's kind of relating to this Final Fantasy X moment in a strange way, where it's like, you know, in a time of grief, it's safe to be sad and shut yourself off.
Right.
But like opening up to people and like sharing, whether that's sharing in a game of, is it Blitzball?
Yeah.
Sharing in a game of Blitzball, or Ultimate, or like sharing memories, like those are the important moments. And I think it's why a lot of times games mean a lot to me as like someone who's an introvert, but who, and I especially learned this during my trip, like loves connecting with people, like having those common touchstones of like, oh, like you played this when you were 10 before bed, like I did too, wow, like how cool. And just to kind of bring it full circle, I gave my best friend Christian a gift of like one of the emulator handhelds and like put all his favorite games on it, because he saw me playing mine during the trip and was like, what is that? And it was his birthday, so it kind of all aligned. And he was just texting me today like, I felt like I was 10 again.
Aww.
Like, and he was like really excited for the gift. So it's amazing what like emotions we store in these, you know, interactive experiences that obviously don't entirely encompass life, but can be places of emotional resonance.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about that again, one of the things that happened with my journey of starting playing Final Fantasy X and being out of town is that I discovered there are a lot of people who have that connection with that game and with that franchise. And the number of people I've gotten who've come in and joined in the journey with me playing that game, who have left comments talking about how impactful the game was to them, or they played it when it first came out, or that it's so refreshing to them and special to them to get to see someone play it for the first time, not knowing how the game ends or what it was about, in a truly blind play, how special that is for them, because it brings back their nostalgia, or gives them nostalgia and brings back their memories of that same joy and those same feelings. And that has been one of the coolest things, and I think also so aligns with the mission that at least I perceived of this podcast too, of sharing joy with others through games. It's been, I think, the closest I've come in my journey to feeling like I was really truly getting to do that, because I've been loving the game. It's been bringing me so much joy, and then getting to directly hear from people following along and hear that it's bringing them joy as well, and that the game itself has brought them so much joy over time, has been such an incredibly special experience. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love how that has tied in together, even though I feel like we've been on very different game journeys over the last month.
Yeah.
It's cool that we've been thinking some of the same thoughts. And that truly just goes to show how real that kind of thesis is, that we could both be playing these different games, or in my case, not playing that many games, but coming to a similar conclusion, and how deep a connection humans can form with these interactive experiences.
And that kind of makes me think about how this is something we've talked about before, because you went through it, this concept of video games being a waste of time, or an indication of someone who isn't quote unquote productive in life. And it's been cool to watch your relationship with games change through that concept. And it's also fascinating thinking about how that concept came to be. Granted, with anything and everything, there's an unhealthy way, I believe, that you can interact with it. But I feel like video games in particular have gotten a really bad rap over time in that specific manner of being seen as a waste of time. And I don't know, our journey has been in just learning more and more how much that isn't the case, or doesn't have to be the case, related or in perspective of any other thing you might engage with.
Yeah, I think doesn't have to be is like the right phrase, because really what it comes back to is that it's all about how you perceive what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like it's been interesting to kind of go through this year plus of working part-time as I like lead up to law school in August, and like having that have started with like I'm gonna write a novel and like getting a couple like full-length manuscripts down, and then now I'm mostly just like vibing, baking, in addition to working part-time, baking, doing podcasts, like playing games. And it's fascinating because like during my time writing, if I had took a day off from writing and played games, I would have like felt so bad about myself. And that's such an unsustainable way to live, because it's important to form healthy habits, yes, but it's also important to find rest, and it's important to fill your creative bucket with like cool inspirational things. Like the first thing that made me want to write in the first place was Baldur's Gate 3. It was like, if someone could write something like this, then I may as well try. And so like remembering that anecdote is like, it always brings me joy, because it's not like this desire to write, even as much as like I want to tell myself it came out of like a, you know, natural, like I know I'm good at this, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna make a run at it because like I have something to offer. No, it was like I really like Baldur's Gate 3, like maybe I'll try writing something like that. And yeah, so it's all about perception is what I'm trying to say, as far as like now if I spend, you know, a couple hours playing a game, on my bad days I'm like, what did I just do? And on my best days I'm like, that was awesome, like let's think about that and process that. Yeah, and so I think you're spot on.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm wanting to just keep taking this into our conversation more into a philosophical direction. My mind is just diving so deep into that area, but yeah, all about perception. And then I think you saying it doesn't have to be a negative thing. And it also makes me think about the idea of just being more present in our lives in general. I mean, that's such a big thing about with meditation. And I think trying to find more joy in your life is learning how to be more present and engage with the things around you and really see them. And that's been, you know, it's been a month since we did our last episode. I feel like I might have brought this up on the last episode, but that's been something that I've found really special and been reflecting a lot on in my journey of doing kind of all of this content around games, which has encouraged me, at least, I think you as well, you were maybe doing it a little before, I mean, you were just talking about this, encouraged me to be more intentional with my gameplay. And so when I'm playing, I'm finding myself wanting to take everything in a lot more, wanting to think about things a lot more, play a bit slower and be fully present with the game. And that, you know, was a choice and action I did. I wasn't really as present before. Now I'm more present. And I think the coolest thing is that I'm finding that trickling into other aspects of my life as well. Like when we take our dog Cat for a walk, I find myself so much more seeing the flowers and wanting to take that moment to pause and just take a breath and say, wow, that's a beautiful flower, and to look at it a little more deeply than I think maybe I would have been in the habit of doing before. And I just think it's so cool how almost the practice of being more present in my gameplay seems to be trickling down into me being more present in my life when I'm taking those moments to go for a walk or just exist.
That's beautiful. I think very well said, and it's food for thought for me. I want to hear more about, I mean, through this you can talk more about the games you've been playing, but I want to hear more about like the content stuff you've been doing, as far as like what games are you playing right now, for what platforms, and like how are you enjoying them? How are you enjoying the more scheduled play? Because you've been doing a lot of like streams and, you know, making a schedule of like, today I'm going to do YouTube day. Today I'm gonna do a stream. So talk about the games, talk about the experience, talk about getting all these fans. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really great. So right now, obviously, as I mentioned, I'm playing Final Fantasy X, and then on Twitch, I've been playing Blueprints, which is an indie rogue light.
Do you take things from run to run? Then yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's so
all
funny.
vague.
It's just like, at this point, it's pretty much every indie game is a roguelike because it's
Yeah.
like they build it so you can play it a lot. But like, it's funny because, and sorry for this digression, but like the rogue genre is like, it has these very nitty gritty things that have just kind of gone all out of the window. Like, it should be kind of obtuse, like hard to play. It should be like difficult, like very punishing. And like now it's just, you know, an indie game that you can repeat a lot is called like a roguelike or roguelite. So I think it's a puzzle game that you repeat.
Yeah. And it's pretty fun. It's one of the bigger puzzle games I've played. I haven't played too many, and I think honestly maybe a little skeptical just because I feel like with my work, I exercise the puzzle part of my brain. It seems like I'm always doing puzzles, and so sometimes I don't feel as though my brain is ready to do more puzzles, but it's been a really fun game. I can see why it won awards and has been so highly revered. You tried to warn me about it being kind of a black hole of a game, and I didn't really understand what you were trying to tell me, and I do understand now because honestly, you asked me about my schedule too. Being committed to only streaming the game has helped me immensely. I did have one day where we were supposed to leave for an event an hour or at some time, and we were an hour and a half late because I had to finish my day in Blueprints, and there was something really tragic that happened in the game, not in real life. But I think having the strict schedule to where I can't play the game, I don't want to play the game outside of my stream days, and usually I have some time caps on it, I think really has helped prevent me from getting too addicted and playing too many hours in a week. But it's been really fun. It's been cool to play the different games side by side because they are so different. So it means I don't feel like I'm getting overexhausted on playing games. And one is live streaming, one is just recording. So that also feels different. And yeah, I think with the schedule, because I have set more of a routine for myself now. I used to be doing it more freeform and then found a schedule that seems to work, and I think it's been good. Things have been just busy lately, so that's been a bit of a balance, but it's cool scheduling the time to play games. I think that helps again with being more present with them. I'm looking forward to that time, but I'm not overplaying. I'm not underplaying. I'm committing to finishing the games that I want to finish, and then also getting to engage with other people who are into those games or just want to hang out has been so special and exactly what I was looking for in this whole experience.
It's awesome. I love to hear it. You're really good at it. It's something that like, I feel like this with a lot of things that take, I think, way more talent than a lot of people might perceive, where it's like, when you play a game and like you're recording yourself, like I could do that. But then like I listen to the energy that you bring to it and I'm like, how are you not, you know, dead every evening? But you find time and energy for it also. Which
is really funny because I get burnt out on social situations very easily. You know this very well. I would say an extroverted introvert. And I think this is another thing I've been reflecting on. I've brought it up in stream before. I honestly think the whole Twitch, YouTube, whatever it might be thing is perfect for my balance of extroversion and introversion, because I absolutely love connecting with people, but I prefer having something that I can do to keep my brain going as I'm connecting with people. So I've always preferred rock climbing with people, or playing frisbee with people, like doing an activity. Doing a puzzle, something that can keep my brain engaged and almost focused on myself still a little bit, while connecting with other people. And then I think too, not having the entirely in-person face-to-face thing helps me stay connected to myself a little bit more. And for whatever reason, I think it's just the perfect balance that lets me keep, like, it charges my social battery.
Yeah, it fills your cup.
Yeah, it fills my cup. So
That's
I get
beautiful.
recharged, and I get to then use that. I'm just like, it just plugs me into the wall, you know? Like, I'm not a battery pack anymore. When I'm streaming, I'm plugged into the wall.
Right.
It's an infinite power source. I'm outputting energy, light, whatever it might be, and then I'm sucking the energy from my viewers.
Okay.
A vampire?
Yeah, very vampiric.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think they get joy out of it too, so maybe not like sucking the energy out. It's not a vampire.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it's
Okay.
more of like almost like the water cycle.
Water
where
cycle.
Like
Okay.
you're drizzling,
Some rain.
and then it gets collected, and your listeners evaporate it back up, and then you continue. Maybe something like that.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep brainstorming on.
I ought to
An
call
appropriate
you
metaphor.
Misty.
Oh, a little Pokemon reference too.
Yeah, I don't really know, but it's something.
It's something.
Do you want to say anything more about Final Fantasy X, or is it just a popular enough game that you can just say, if you know, you know?
Well, I also haven't finished it. Not that me talking about it right now will spoil it for myself. And I think so many people have played it. You know, if you didn't want it spoiled for you, you would probably just not listen to the rest of this. You wouldn't be listening to this episode. That's what I would do. I wouldn't listen to it. I feel like enough people have played it, but I mean, it truly is such an incredible game. I'm playing the original one. I'm not playing the remastered one, which it's funny. There's so many people out in the world. Everyone has different opinions and preferences. Some people wonder how in the heck I'm not playing the remastered version, why I want the old graphics. Some people seem so grateful that I'm playing the original version. It's funny, but I think, and we've talked about this before, I mean, we've seen and played so much AI slop when we are going through our new release phase that it's been so refreshing to go back to an old game, PS2 era, that is highly revered, with the original graphics, and to just get to appreciate how good a game can be without relying on its graphics to carry it, and to have been created with the resources that were available at that time. And also, I think a time period when there were the bigger companies that were putting so much intention into their games. And yeah, we weren't really in the era of there being tons and tons. I mean, there were still tons of games on the PS2, but you know, now there are tons and tons and tons and tons of games, and some are really quite bad. I don't know. It's such a good game. I love the combat system. The story has been incredible. The characters are incredible. The balance between combat and story is really nice. I feel as though they have the story, bits of the story sprinkled in at all the right moments. Mm-hmm. It has been a game in which it keeps my mind thinking. Something happens and I'm suddenly theory crafting 5 different theories, and then something happens again, and it's when we watch movies and I'm always predicting stuff. I'm essentially doing that this entire game. I bet this is going to happen. Oh, I bet this is this. I bet this person thinks this or is like this. So, especially for me, I think it's been a really perfect game for me.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear it. And how has it been playing it on the original hardware? Because you said original graphics, but it's also cool to be playing it on like the actual PS2.
Yeah, but it's great. No complaints.
No notes.
I mean, it's playing on a PlayStation 2 controller, which I did have a PlayStation 2 growing up, but just somehow didn't play all of the very popular games.
That's what happened to me too with the GameCube. It's like, did you play like Resident Evil 4? And I'm like, no, I just played Super Mario Baseball, nothing else.
I played Harvest Moon and Frogger, but not even the first Frogger, some obscure Frogger.
It's like Frogger, Swampy's Revenge, I think.
That brings back memories already. So good.
That's funny.
So yeah, it's been fun playing on that PlayStation controller. It's easy to load up the game on the PS2 that we have. I haven't had any issues.
That's great
with it,
especially because the startup was a bit whack. But
Yeah.
you're using a capture card and it's all working well, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm honestly really impressed that I haven't had more issues because this is the first game I've played on our PS2. It's the
Yeah.
first game I've tried to, with a capture card, record.
Yeah.
So I had to figure everything out. There were some minor road bumps at the start with just me figuring out how to set up the resolution and everything. But yeah, overall, it's been a surprisingly smooth ride.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear it. As far as my gameplay, it's all been on my Steam Deck. And while I was traveling, I was also playing a bit of Chrono Trigger on my RG35XX, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I'm very excited to play Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I think it'll be very you. It's good. It's a good travel game for me because I can just like play 10 minutes of it, grind some battles, and then close it up. But it's definitely, I've in that way had a lot less of a present experience with it and more just like slowly working my way through the story. So I should get back to it. But I was playing that. I started Tetris Effect Connected while I was on some of the planes, and that was really cool. Do you know about that game at all?
No.
It's like the version of Tetris that people hold up as like the vibiest, where like the music is very immersive, and the like blocks and environments are all like very kind of they're designed in very unique ways, where like they change to the music, and if you like put in headphones and like lock in, it's like you're at your own little rave sometimes. Or it's very like meditative. So I'd recommend it if you ever want to have a go at it. I've heard in VR it's like really wild. So
Playing
it might be
Tetris in VR with
Yeah.
what sounds like very immersive music.
Yeah.
Wild.
So played some of that. It's as good as everyone says. It's been out for a while. And they recently, the same company did a remake of Luminous, which is like Sony's version of Tetris, for lack of a better, or for describing it quickly, which was like a bit of a hit last year. So played those games, played more Slay the Spire 2. That's, more Slay the Spire is not going to be bad. And also I was playing quite a bit of an adventure game called Kathy Rain, which is like a young woman investigates the mysterious death of her grandfather. So it's detective adventure game right up my alley. And I was talking for Indie Game Garden, the other video game podcast I do, I was talking to Dave Lloyd, who made The Drifter, and it was a really exciting conversation. And I was trying to describe this to him where I was like, my girlfriend Jamie keeps asking me while I'm playing these adventure games, like, will I like it? And I'm like, if you're comparing it to The Drifter, like, you'll think it's absolute garbage, which is funny because it proves how good The Drifter is.
Yeah.
Because I think Kathy Rain is still amazing, and there's like lots of Twin Peaks references in it. The art style is really good. The story's been engaging, but there's just like something about The Drifter that is so good. So I've been playing Kathy Rain and enjoying it, but it's not The Drifter.
Yeah.
So if you're going on my recommendations, I think if you're more of my style gamer, you'll like it. And if you're more of I don't really like adventure games, but I like superlative games, it might not be for you.
Which is good for me to hear, because that was what I was wondering after The Drifter, is if maybe I could be a
Right.
point and click adventure game enjoyer, but I think ultimately I'm not. And The Drifter is
Simply
just
put.
incredible.
Yeah, and so then that's what I was playing on the road, or in the sky is a more accurate term. And then since I've been back, I've been taking a little break from games, although I have played 2 that I want to talk about just in the last half a week. One is Scallywags, which is a game that is getting its demo release on May 18th. which happens to be my dad's birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. You can play Scallywags for your birthday. It's a game made by a couple of folks I've interviewed for Indie Game Garden. They run like a small studio called Flowo in Ontario. And it is a pirate ship roguelite where you like manage a crew in like a real-time strategy battle type environment. And it's cool. It's like very different than like a Slay the Spire type roguelite or even a like Binding of Isaac. It's way more similar to Faster Than Light, which is like the most famous, I think, example of like a crew management roguelike. So if you're into that kind of thing, go pick up Scallywags. They're trying to make a big splash for their for Ocean Fest on Steam. Steam's doing a bunch
Ocean
of fests.
Fest.
Have you noticed that? They did like Eastern Culture Fest, and then they did. I've seen so many fests. Maybe that's just Steam, but
yeah, it does feel as though every time I open it, there's a fest going on, and I
Yeah.
kind of just figured that was a Steam thing.
yeah. Well, Ocean Fest coming up May 18th. The people at Flowo were nice enough to let me like test the game and give them feedback. So I got an early key, and it was such a cool experience. It makes me. I was telling you this in the car, but it makes me feel like if games industry were still a viable place to work, which I think it's getting less and less, particularly AAA games, I think I would be really good either like tester or like a product manager, project manager. Just because I loved like playing the game, thinking critically about it, and like giving feedback that I know would be taken into account since the team's so small and I have relationships with them, and I really loved it. So yeah, Scallywags, shout out.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know if there's really any money in that, but I feel like there are all sorts of devs and games who are always looking for feedback and testers, but I kind of imagine
there's definitely a lot of volunteer work in it.
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm super happy to do. And then last but not least, I've been trying to get into Titanium Court, which is the GDC winning game by AP Thompson. And it's a fascinating one. So it starts out and you're like, what the hell is this? It's like a match 3 game, very simple to start out, which is like Candy Crush, where you're like matching these.
Oh.
Yeah, you're matching these similar tiles and they're disappearing, and it's very like itching your brain. And then you get a little story where you're like, what the hell? You're in like a castle full of fairies, and they're like, you're our queen. And you're like, huh? And then like little things open up, and then you do battles. But it's on the match 3 grid. So you like start as a match 3 to like try to rearrange the like battlefield. And then you do kind of like a Clash Royale style, like pick your troops and like send them out from the position that you like manipulated from the match 3 game. And then it has like typical roguelike elements like buying potions, buying new cards, stuff like that, and different enemy types. But I see so much depth there. The art style is super unique. It's like this 1-bit like pixel graphics with like very vibrant colors like pinks and blues and greens. And you kind of have to see it to believe it. Looking at the screenshot, it's really hard to tell what the game is about, and I would say that mirrors the play. There's a lot of like references to like acting, like theater. There's a lot of references to like sports, like tennis, baseball, golf, football. There's a lot of references to like politics. It's very
Sounds like a hodgepodge of anything you could think of.
Yeah, it's cool because it is a very cohesive product that is obviously a super impactful play experience. But at the same time, you do get the sense while playing it sometimes that it's just like AP Thompson just like threw in whatever he was thinking at the time. So it's cool that like
a stream of conscious game.
I think it's more to say than that. I would say it's more absurdist, where it's like it's on purpose, like mixing these different things. But basically what I was going to say is like it takes a lot of pressure, I think, off of maybe aspiring creatives who see something like this and they're like, wait, like this is beautiful and this is thought-provoking and this is just some creative, silly person like putting everything he's thinking into this game.
Yeah.
And like the music is really cool but spare. AP Thompson is like a songwriter and guitar player, and the music is just like electric guitar and like sometimes a hi-hat like on a drum. And I think it's really cool. So I'm looking forward to playing more of it. I'm just about like 3 hours in right now. But it hasn't been the type of game that I feel like I could just lose myself in, but it's been more of a thinky game. So it makes sense to me that it won like the GDC award, where it's like critics and devs playing this, and it is fascinating. So I like it.
Huh. It'd be cool to try. I have a growing list of games, but it does make me intrigued to try it. Maybe for a Twitch sort of try it out, demo it.
I think it'd be really good for a stream or a YouTube series, just because I've been trying to, or not trying to, but I've been like, while I've been resting, I've been like having this detective show Longmire on in the background, which is like totally atonal compared to Titanium Court. If you couldn't tell, Longmire is about like a small town sheriff in Wyoming, like
Longmire
beating people up and stuff. It's weird, but it's hard for me to play and watch TV, and I think that's been part of my problem, is like my brain doesn't want to do that, but I'm kind of still trying to force it. So the best time I've had with Titanium Court is when I've just been fully focused on it. So all that's to say, I think that would be the same experience for you.
Fully focused on.
Exactly. As I think most any game is, if it's worth playing. Like, I think the kinds of games where you're just like, you feel like it's idle enough to be able to multitask, in quotation marks, like, I question that.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, you don't really, at least for me, it's like, you don't really want to be committing to either.
Yeah.
So then you're committing to neither. And then that is what feels, bad to me. I've realized over the last few days. So
I think if you're doing that, you're committing to, or should be committing to, being a vegetable. You're just wanting to veg out, not really engage with anything.
Not think about either thing.
Which is totally fine, but I do find in those situations, if you're not committed to the not being committed, it feels so much worse.
Right. I think it's just been a fatigue thing for me, and it has been like feelings I've had to deal with of like, why am I doing this? So, and
it's also hard when you want to not be in that place, like when you want to be feeling energized enough to engage with things, but if you're not quite there, then it can feel worse. You're trying to engage with it, but then you don't really want to. You don't feel like you have the energy, and then
Well, for you, dear listeners, we wish you all the energy in the world. Thank you so much for listening. Jamie, do you have anything to add before we say our goodbyes?
I don't think so. We talked about trying to keep this episode short, and I think maybe it's not all that short.
It's somewhat. I mean, we don't really have an average. We kind of just go with where our hearts lead us, which is the right thing to do. But I just wanted to say, like, thanks for, if you are coming back and listening to this, like, thank you. I know it's been a while, and we're gonna try our best to be, weekly from here on out, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see where life takes us.
Most definitely, my love.
Love y'all. Bye.